Hello everyone, Chris with RE/MAX Heritage Professionals. And in this video, I want to talk a little bit about what are the 10 questions you should ask a real estate agent when deciding who you're going to ask to help you sell your home. So the first one is to ask what their credentials are. Make sure they've got a state license. I think it's important to make sure that they are a member of a local multiple listing service so that they can have access to the MLS and your property will show up on the MLS for all other realtors to see. I think it's also important to make sure they're actually a realtor and not just a real estate agent. And a lot of people don't understand the difference, but a realtor has joined the National Association of Realtors and agreed to hold themselves to a higher ethical standard than a real estate agent. We have a code of ethics that we follow as realtors that ensure that we put your interests as our client ahead of our own. A real estate agent just has to follow what the law says, and that's a pretty minimal requirement, so there's a big difference there. So definitely ask what the credentials are, maybe any additional training they've had. That all can be important. Do they have any other certifications from the National Association of Realtors? Have they received any specialized training, etc.? That's all important information to know. It's important to ask how many sales did they close last year. Years of experience do not give you experience in closing transactions. Number of transactions closed does. So you might have an agent that's been doing it 30 years, but if they only close one transaction a year, they've only done 30 transactions. To use myself as an example, I've been doing this for 6 years, and I've assisted with 170 families closing on a home. So while I have less experience in terms of number of years than that 30-year agent, I have a little more than 5 times the number of transactions experience. And so asking about how many sales were closed is really the real question to ask. The next question that is important to ask is, do you specialize in this neighborhood or area? There are a lot of agents that work with such big teams that they really have an expansive area that they market to, but that doesn't necessarily mean they have any experience in that area or know that area. So you want to make sure you're hiring an agent that has some experience in the area, neighborhood, zip code, city that you're looking to sell your home in. Another good question to ask is, how did they arrive at the listing price? What was their process? What did they look at? What do they consider? How do they weigh different things to come up with that list price that they've presented to you? And beware of the agent that just gives you the highest price, because if it's not based on anything in the market, they're going to be asking you in a week or two to lower the price when they're not getting any kind of attention or traction to your property. There are agents out there that will just tell you, whatever price they think is going to take to get the listing, and they'll worry about actually selling it later. You want an agent that has got some sound logic behind what their listing price is, and if it makes sense to you, then that's an agent you probably want to go with. Another thing you want to ask is who you'll be working with. Again, a lot of agents work on really big teams, and so you might meet with the producer, the top producer, if you will, for that initial listing appointment, but they may pawn you off to an agent that has little to no experience. And depending on the structure of the team, that agent may have little to no support in helping fulfill that transaction and helping you get your home sold. So it's important to know who exactly you'll be working with. Other teams work very well and they have other very good agents on it, but you just want to make sure you know who you're actually working with. So if there are issues, you know who to talk to. You also want to ask, how much will selling your home cost? What is the commission going to be? What are the closing fees and all of that? I typically will provide what's called a seller net sheet at several different price points so that you have an idea as a seller what you're going to walk away with. And I get that from my title company that I typically work with. You should also ask, what is their sales plan? Are they just going to put a sign in the yard, put the home in the MLS, and then pray? Or do they actually have a marketing plan for how they're going to get your home the most exposure possible? coming out of the pandemic, there were a lot of agents that, and really any of us as agents, could literally just put the home on the MLS and put a sign in the yard and it would sell in days and we looked like geniuses. But there were also agents during that time that still did the maximum to market the property to help sellers get the most they could for their money. Most money they could get for their home, sorry. So, you know, for example, we still did all the professional photography, we still did staging, we still did social media marketing, videos, etc. For the home to make sure that our sellers still got the maximum they could, the maximum exposure for the home, which usually nets them the maximum price for the home. So you want to make sure that the agent that is going to list your home has a plan for how they're going to market your home. Be wary of the real estate agent that is going to take pictures with their cell phone and is just going to put it in MLS. Another good question to ask is what do you need to do to get your home ready? A good agent should have an idea of how to coach you through what needs to be done to get your house ready to sell, again, to maximize whatever your goals are for how much money you want for the home. Find out if they suggest professional staging services, if they provide some level of staging services themselves, or kind of what the deal is in terms of getting that home ready. It's so important. The first impression and what shows up on their pictures is so important because that's how people decide what. What they're going to do in terms of what those pictures are going to look like is going to do more for getting your home the proper exposure, and so it's so important to have that good first impression. What should you do to get your house ready? Make sure they have a clue on what this should look like. Do they suggest professional staging services? Do they have the ability to do some staging themselves? Is there a good cleaning service that's necessary? But they should have a really good idea of what projects you need to work on to get your home ready. That first impression in terms of what your house looks like online is how people decide whether to come see your house. And so online presentation is more important than ever. Make sure that agent has a good idea of how to make your home sparkle online. The next question that you should ask a realtor is, how will you communicate? Do they like texts, emails, phone calls, and what is your preference? And make sure they match. Make sure that the way that you prefer to communicate matches with their ability to communicate with you, because during a transaction there are lots of opportunities to communicate, and it's important that communication be an open channel, and the more and better communication you have, the smoother the transaction is going to be overall. Finally, you should ask, how long will the process take? Any good agent should be able to tell you, based on what's happening in the real estate market, how long they think it might take to sell your home, and then how long it would take to close once you're under contract. Nobody can predict the future, of course, and if they are telling you they can guarantee something, you should question that. But the reality is that, let's say that the average home is on the market 30 days. So, and if that's the case and we have a financed offer, then you got to figure another 30 to 45 days after that to close. So that way you can plan. And so really relying on your agent's expertise for how long they think it'll take to sell, and then how long it'll take to close once you're under contract. Anyway, I hope that you found this information helpful, and more importantly, I hope that I have the chance to answer these 10 questions for you. If you are looking to sell your home, please give me a shot. I'd love the chance to answer these questions in your home for your specific situation, and have the opportunity to maybe help you get your home sold. Remember, I want to make your home buying and selling experience an epic one. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please invite friends and family to do so. I hope you have a great day, everyone.